The limits of how many notes you can split up an octave is really only bound by the limits of human hearing. At times things can seem a little complex, but not all microtonal tunings have to be that complicated. Enter the 19 EDO tuning. We're only dealing with 7 more notes than the standard 12 EDO tuning we're all used to. So let's see what this tuning's all about. Howdy neighbor, it's Dave, and today we're going to talk about the 4th preset that you find on the Lumatone, the 19 EDO tuning. EDO stands for equally divided octave, which in this case simply means we're splitting the octave up by 19 tones, which are all equally spaced from each other. Now, as I mentioned in the previous episode on 31 EDO, every equally divided tuning has its own flavor, as the intervals of each different tuning will either be closer or further away from the pure tuning of just intonation. If you're not familiar with just intonation, to sum it up real quick, when you strike any given note, it naturally produces a series of harmonic overtones. And all these harmonic overtones are all notes that are in the same key of that initial note you played. These intervals are not evenly spaced from each other, and it results in the purest possible tuning between intervals. We do lose that purity in tuning when we equally divide an octave, but equally dividing the octave gives us the ability to switch keys and transpose and arrange freely and far more easily. But if you're just getting into microtonality, the 19 EDO tuning is a pretty good place to start wrapping your head around some of these concepts. So to sum up this tuning in the simplest way possible, it now gives us both sharps and flats. Whereas the standard 12-tone tuning makes, say, a C sharp and a D flat the same note, here in 19 EDO, they are now 2 separate and distinct notes. But let's take a look at where they fall compared to 12 EDO. So to visualize the tuning, let's use piano tech as our instrument. Here we're looking at it tuned to 19 EDO. If you're not familiar with how piano tech's tuning wheel works, it's pretty simple. These points represent the 19 intervals placed across the octave. The top point represents C, and we increase in step size as we go clockwise around the wheel, with each interval increasing by an equal 63.2 cents. The intersection of these orange and green bars here let us know where the notes on 12 EDO fall. So we can see here that a C sharp in 19 EDO falls flat of where it would fall in 12 EDO. And the D flat sits above it. This tuning also gives us something we've never had before, an E sharp and a B sharp. Now, you can see that this is a really manageable tuning and a logical extension of the standard 12 notes per octave. But now let's take a look at how each one of these intervals relate to the fundamental pitch. So if our fundamental note here is C, the first step is a 3rd tone and can be seen as a diminished 2nd. The 2nd step is a minor 2nd, which we saw before is slightly higher than that 12 EDO diatonic semitone. Then we have the whole step. And then from there, the 4th step results in what could be considered a subminor 3rd. Next is the minor 3rd. So this minor 3rd is actually almost identical to the minor 3rd of just intonation, whereas the minor 3rd in 12 EDO is actually falling about 16 cents flat. So let's compare the two. If the 19 EDO minor 3rd sounds more out of tune to you, that's normal. Most of us, myself included, have spent a lifetime tuning our ears to 12 EDO. But the more you start to listen to that slight difference, the more the 12 EDO minor 3rd starts to sound more out of tune. It's bizarre. You really can't argue with just intonation. And here's the major 3rd. This is much closer to J.I.'s major 3rd as well. These more precise thirds contribute to the 19 tet tuning sound in a great way. But jumping up one step, we get our super major third, then our perfect fourth, augmented fourth, and diminished fifth, which can give us some unique tritone flavors. From there, we've got the perfect fifth. So the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth here are 7 cents off just intonation, whereas in 12 EDO, the perfect fourth and perfect fifth are only off by 2 cents. So while 19 EDO has more accurate thirds, the fourth and fifth will be less accurate compared to 12 EDO. These give and take relationships between the intervals is really what gives all these different tunings their own distinct sound and feel. Moving right along here, we've got the augmented fifth, the minor six, and the major six. Both the minor and major six are so close to perfect JI. Then we've got the good old diminished seventh, which can result in a nice harmonic seventh chord. And from there we've got our minor seven and our major seven, which falls flatter than the 12 EDO major 7. But we're not quite done here, since we have that new note that is B sharp. Our last interval is the super major 7, which can be a bit more difficult to use, but like everything, you'll find it has a place somewhere. One person's heinous sound is another's ear candy. Spend a little time going through 19 tet and 12 tet, and you'll start to realize that there really is no in-tune sounds or out-of-tune sounds. Really, they're just different. And all these new intervals we get from 19 EDO can result in some new and interesting chords, like a sub-minor triad, a super major triad, super pure sounding minor and major sixths, and of course that harmonic 7. Playing around with these is a simple way to get a vibe for the flavor of this tuning. So there's my first quick look at the 19 EDO tuning. But as I said in the 31 EDO Basics episode, there's so much more to cover on these tunings, any of them, and we will be revisiting this one at some point as well. But for now, we'll continue moving along Lumatone's preset tunings and exploring the basic principles behind them. And don't forget to subscribe to be notified when new episodes drop, and thanks for watching, folks.